One of the biggest mistakes sellers make when listing their home is assuming the goal is simply to price as high as possible. Because in today's market, the highest asking price does not always produce the highest final result. In fact, pricing incorrectly can quietly cost sellers hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost leverage, reduced buyer urgency, extended market time, and ultimately weaker negotiating position. And we're seeing this happen more and more as buyers become increasingly more informed, analytical, and sensitive to value. So in this video, I want to walk you through what pricing strategy actually works in today's Laguna Niguel real estate market, why overpricing often backfires, and how strategic positioning can dramatically influence the outcome of a sale. I'm Shawn Noonan with the Noonan team at Compass, and we specialize in luxury real estate throughout Laguna Niguel, Dana Point, and the coastal communities of South Orange County. And one of the most important conversations we have with sellers in today's market revolves around pricing strategy, because pricing is no longer just about putting a number on a listing. It's about understanding buyer psychology, competition, market timing, and how buyers actually behave in today's market. And the market today is very different than it was even just a few years ago. Buyers now have instant access to comparable sales, active listings, current price reductions, days on market history, neighborhood inventory trends, and historical pricing data. That means buyers are evaluating homes more critically and more quickly than ever before. Well, years ago, sellers could sometimes price aggressively and still create activity because buyers had less information available to them. But today, buyers recognize overpricing almost immediately. And when a home feels disconnected from market expectations, buyers often do one of two things. Either they skip the property entirely or they wait, assuming a future price reduction is coming, and neither scenario benefits you as the seller. One of the most common misconceptions in real estate is, let's price high and leave room to negotiate. We've all heard that language. Now, the logic sounds reasonable on the surface, but in practice, what often happens is the exact opposite. Overpriced homes frequently experience fewer showings, lower online engagement, less urgency, longer market time, and weaker negotiating leverage. And this becomes especially problematic during the first few weeks on the market, which are typically the most important for you as a seller. Because when a home first launches, that's when buyer attention is highest. Online visibility is strongest. Agents are watching closely and serious buyers are most engaged. If the home misses that initial momentum window because the pricing feels too aggressive, it can become much harder to recreate that urgency later. And once a listing begins sitting on the market too long, buyers naturally begin asking, why hasn't this sold? Even if the property itself is excellent, the strongest outcomes typically come from the strategic positioning, not simply aggressive pricing. Homes that are priced thoughtfully from the beginning often generate more showing. They have stronger emotional engagement. There's a greater sense of urgency and more competitive offer activity, and ultimately, stronger negotiating leverage because buyers feel they need to act quickly. And this is especially important in communities throughout Laguna Niguel, where buyers are comparing inventory very carefully. For example, in neighborhoods like Laguna Sur, Palmilla, Niguel Summit, or Beacon Hill, buyers are often evaluating multiple homes simultaneously. And we regularly see situations where two very similar homes perform dramatically differently simply because one was positioned more strategically from day one. The market responds very quickly to what we call perceived value. And one of the most important things sellers should understand is that pricing strategy is not just about determining what a home is worth, it's about determining how the property will compete within the current market environment. And that requires evaluating many things: active competition, buyer demand, current inventory levels, property condition, recent upgrades, presentation, location within the neighborhood, and buyer psychology. For luxury coastal properties throughout Laguna Niguel and Dana Point, this becomes even more nuanced because emotional factors heavily influence buyer behavior. Things like view orientation, privacy, natural lighting, outdoor living spaces, architectural character, and overall lifestyle appeal can all dramatically impact how buyers perceive value. And pricing strategy has to account for those factors properly. At the Noonan team, we believe pricing is approached as a part of a much larger positioning strategy. We like to analyze recent comparable sales, active and pending competition, buyer activity trends, inventory conditions, how the property is presented, and market timing. But we also evaluate how buyers are likely to emotionally respond to your property relative to competing inventory, because ultimately, buyer behavior determines those outcomes. The objective is not simply to test the market at the highest possible number. This never works. The objective is to position the home strategically so it creates strong buyer engagement, preserves leverage, and maximizes the overall result for the seller. The reality is, successful pricing today requires much more than simply choosing a number from the last sale down the street. It requires understanding buyer psychology, market dynamics, competition, timing, and how homes are actually performing within the current market environment. Cities like Laguna Niguel and coastal Orange County, small pricing decisions can have a very significant impact on the overall outcome of a sale. If you're considering selling and would simply like a more thoughtful understanding of how your home would likely be positioned in today's market, we're always happy to be a resource. And if you enjoy this type of content, be sure to subscribe for more Laguna Niguel real estate insights, seller strategies, and market updates.